So glad you could come on and chat today, boys. So good to see you. You're both upstairs.
Of course.
I want to introduce you, and then I'm going to have you say your age and where you go to school and what your it is. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'd like to introduce Noah Swift. Raise your hand. That's Noah. And then this is Tyler Swift. I think these guys were born, I've said this before, to have living examples of the amazing differences with how people take action. So, would you guys like to say how old you are and where you go to school?
I am 17, or I'm 18 actually, just turned 18, and I go to ATech.
I'm 15 and I go to SECTA.
Soon to be 16, right?
Yes, very soon.
In a little bit of time. Do you guys remember this book?
Of course.
Yes.
So, what came out of this book for me as a parent, and I know we talk about this and I use this a lot, is something called Your It. This boy was very frustrated because his older siblings knew what they wanted to be when they grew up. And Lyndon didn't know what he wanted to be. And he faked a toothache because he was upset that he didn't know his it. We used to call it his it. And so I know that we've talked about what your it is. And I guess for each of you, that might be different as to how that was discovered. But I'm interested in knowing if you had the freedom to discover it or if you think that I somehow influenced that. Whoever wants to go first can go first.
I think you gave me the tools to pick what I wanted to pick, but you didn't really lean me in any one direction. You kind of just presented all these options and I got to pick for myself.
What options did I present?
Well, based off the Colby, kind of narrowed it down to the trades, and I've always liked working with my hands, so it was something involving my hands, so like welding or construction, woodworking, masonry, and then things in the trade along those lines.
Okay, Noah, what about you?
Kind of very similar to that. I think that it kind of given tools, you've allowed us to kind of see how we work when we come across any problem, and knowing what we do well and what we don't do well can kind of predict or kind of implement a career along that same path, which is very helpful. And you were not pushy at all towards a specific career. We could do anything and anything we wanted, but we kind of knew what we worked well with and our kind of like challenges and struggles as well. So that kind of really, really helped narrow it down to a really good choice that we're really happy with.
Your challenges and struggles. How do I handle that with both of you as a mom? I mean, as your mom, like, how do you think I handle that? I've never asked you these questions before, so this is going to be a super interesting response.
I think we tried to handle it best ourselves, but when it gets a little out of hand, we can definitely ask you for help and you're there. But you kind of give us a lot of freedom to make mistakes on our own. And then we learn from them, and then we kind of grow up and move on and learn from them.
That's a good way to put it, is like you kind of allow us to fall on our face to kind of learn firsthand. For example, just like if you stay up late on like a school night and you have school or work the next morning, you're going to be tired. And knowing that helps you kind of learn and then predict that, instead of just having someone not like you who just like demands like go to bed now. You kind of like allowed us the freedom to kind of learn, and so we can just choose ourselves the decisions we make.
So a lot of parents ask me if I raise my son or daughter this way, you seem like you don't have any rules in your house and you kind of let your kids do what they want to do. Like if they have so much freedom, then they just run everywhere and do everything. Has that been true growing up? How have I given you, how have you experienced freedom with love and boundaries. If does that make sense?
Yeah. So I don't think we rebelled because there's nothing to rebel against, because most parents with strict rules, all their kids do all this bad stuff like drugs and alcohol, but we don't have anything to rebel against because we don't really have any strict rules. But um yeah.
Kind of going off that, the freedom that you've given us allows us to kind of just like as I said before, learn. And then once we learn for ourselves, we're not kind of listening to our parents on why we can't do something. We're learning firsthand on why we shouldn't do this or that, and kind of the choices that it leads down the road. And knowing those consequences firsthand, as I think it's a lot better of a lesson than kind of something that could be scowled at for.
So you're saying that, or if I'm hearing you correctly, obviously you think you've been taught with natural consequences.
Yes.
Correct.
So, Tyler, I often tell a story about how you came home in third grade and you decided to take the ding and not do homework sheets anymore because you asked your teacher how much it would cost if I didn't turn these in. Do you remember what she said?
I think it was 20%.
Something like that. And you very cleanly said, I'll take it, right?
Mhm.
I'll take it. And I know both of you work very differently in how you fail and how you solve problems.
Mhm.
And I don't think that any particular career or life path is locked in because that has to do with what you want to do, what you care about doing. So, can you share with us some of the interests that you have in life and what you're interested in pursuing or learning more about?
I'm into welding. I'm 3 times certified in welding, and then would like to get more involved in the trades like woodworking. I think would be a wonderful opportunity if I got that chance. I could learn a lot from that. Uh, Masonry, like bricklaying and doing tile work. I think that would be wonderful. Just working with my hands in general would be great.
Do you want to learn more, Tyler?
Yeah, you can always learn more.
I'm someone who's actually more recently come across more of a career change very recently, which is kind of interesting. So, when I was young, when you dropped me off at like Sector 67 or the chop shop where I could just mess around and took like hours to take apart the printer.
Explain
Um,
what that is to people because people don't know what that is.
Sector 67,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
was kind of just like an engineering house. So everything was so wacky, messy, crazy, but there was always a method to the madness, and there was so much to kind of there was so much to do. There was so much like engineering kind of holes that you could dive down at the chop shop. And that's kind of where I fell in love with kind of like the passion for engineering or thinking creatively or thinking on your own and developing ideas that no one's had. And then I kind of took engineering and ran with it for the longest time. And then actually within my senior year of high school and a little bit in my junior year, I kind of made the instinct to kind of branch out and learn more. And I've been very invested kind of in just the market and analyzing and learning about that. And I find that study a lot more appealing as of right now because and it doesn't matter. I'm not pushed to do any one thing. You've definitely supported me in engineering, and you're definitely supporting me like as of right now with this kind of different career path. So the freedom I had to be able to choose was very nice.
That's cool. That's good to hear. I know. I like that. I love that about you guys. How, and Noah, do you want to learn more about it?
I do. That's like kind of the first time I've ever paid for books to kind of learn more on a subject, and
Mhm.
that's very nice to kind of have that spark of curiosity that's just burning.
Long time ago, I know when we lived in Wisconsin, I touched on this, but I haven't talked about this. So this is going to be kind of a question, a new question for you, but I haven't asked you in a long time.
Mhm.
You're both very, very, very different
Mhm.
in how you solve problems. Very different. And I guess I want to know, how do you get along? I mean, how do you get along with each other's differences? Do you fight them? Do you try and change them? Do you use them to your advantage? I mean, tell me
Uh,
about your differences and how you work together with them or without them.
It's a good question. Me and Noah used to not get along at all. Um, it's only been these last couple of years where we got along. I don't really know what changed. I think we just matured and stopped caring about the little things and kind of just focused on the bigger picture and what was actually really important.
That's a good way. I think maturity plays a good role in it. I think another part is kind of stopping to try, like knowing that we're not gonna change how the person's wired or how they think. Like if like back then, if I walked in Tyler's room and I just made fun of for his room being messy, there's a reason why his room is messy because that's probably not why. Because if it was different, it would be different. Like his way is not mine. And then once I kind of realized that, like that's who I'm with. And it's not even just the negatives, it's always the positives that he can bring to the table that I can't see. And also it took me probably a while to kind of see those benefits and utilize them so that we just get along just fine.
How do you utilize them? How do you use those benefits?
So kind of just the like Tyler's curiosity or his passion to like build things, especially in the trades. That's huge because I know nothing about that. I know absolutely zero anything about that. But if I have a question or I need something done for school work or just anything revolving that, I can ask him that. And I don't need to like one up him and try to learn it on my own because this is someone that specializes in a field like that or even like specializes in that kind of work. So there's no point in exercising my resources when I have like a good resource right here.
Mm-hmm. I know you also have both had circumstances before where you thought your way of working was like the best, right? And that's easy to do because I did the same thing.
Mhm.
I thought that my way of working was better than anyone else. If I could make decisions quickly or whatever I did, if I did it my way, I thought it was the best. Do you think that your way is the best for everybody?
No, of course not.
Why
Everyone
not?
everyone works differently. Everyone has a different way of doing things. Then something needs to get done. It doesn't no matter how they do it, just as long as it gets done.
Noah?
Your way works for you, and no one. I think everyone has their own specific or unique way, and there's no point in changing something that doesn't work for someone else.
Mm-hmm. So when you go out into the world and you're obviously getting closer to that time happening, you're going to work with a lot of different people, right? And you have a lens with growing up in this family that is different than maybe other people might have. How
Mhm.
would you teach someone this concept, or how would you be the example, like the walking, living example of this to someone that's doesn't know anything about it, and they may be bashing someone's way of working and saying that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be done that way.
Well, if you're going into any situation like that, I would always just keep an open mind and realize that there's not bad things that people bring to a table, but just different things that people bring to a table that all work for the same goal. If you're trying to complete a project, maybe one person doesn't do so well in the homework, but can really dive deep in a research part of it, and then you want to target their strengths around it. So probably not shaming them for what they can't do that's similar in your way, but using their different strengths and your strength to best tackle the problem, the project, the quiz, whatever, just to tackle it together instead of
Good
bashing each other.
idea. That's a good idea. Noah and or Tyler, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like Noah was saying, bring out their strong suits, find them, and then just kind of like go to town and kind of dig deep and get it done, and then find it, and then explore and see how crazy it gets.
Mhm.
Right. So, as your mom, I have used this work on you since I've known how you worked, since like 9 years of age or even a little earlier. Right. So, I don't know if you've recognized any ins and outs or any kinds of questions that I've done because this is kind of in our family and I've used this. But what I've seen in you based on this is passion, the passion for learning and wanting to grow and learn more, which a lot of times I believe that when people don't have a freedom to make a decision for themselves and everyone else is telling them what to do, they will stop trying.
Mhm. It's a good way of putting it. It's a great way of putting it.
That's what I believe. What do you believe?
That's actually really strong because if you're pushing someone to go into one kind of field and they don't have any passion for it and they're pushing and pushing and pushing, the person's going to just give up or just stop giving a lot of effort because it's just simply something they don't want to do. And forcing
Right.
someone down the wrong road is it's just not going to help.
Mhm.
Right. In this podcast, is there anything that you would like to say to kids your age or parents of kids your age?
For the parents, me and you, Mom, we did not get along for the longest time because you tried to make me do things your way, and my way is not your way. And we not get along. We fought constantly, never got along, never really talked. But then once you finally let me do things my way, let your kids do them their own way, and just let them be, and stop trying to force them to do things your way because your way is not for everybody.
Right.
Great things will happen.
How did you notice a difference?
We just got along. We started talking, less arguing. I had a lot more freedom. I felt a lot more free. My mind was like clear and less chaotic, and it was just like started flowing. Things started flowing, started moving smoothly. So
You bring up a really good point. So it sounds like the energy that you were using to fight with me was then used for yourself to figure out how to do things.
yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
What about you, Noah? Anything you would say?
In the simplest terms and not taken in the most literal sense, I would say get in trouble a couple of times.
What does that mean? What does that mean for you? Like,
I would live and learn.
is this, are you talking to the teenagers or are you talking to the parents?
Both. Let them get in trouble. I would not be the barrier that allows them to not get in trouble for them to make even a bigger mistake down the road. I would just, I'm not saying all the time, I'm not saying anything serious, but like, just, I don't know, get in trouble some of the times because then you're living. Then
So it's
you're,
okay to mess up.
it's okay to mess up. It's okay to get caught. It's okay to kind of make mistakes, but just don't bash yourself for them being mistakes and just learn from them.
So I know that this was super impromptu and I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate what you had to say. And I know this was not scripted, this was not rehearsed. And I'm just very proud of you. And I'm so glad that you came on to share how you work with the rest of the crowd. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Mom.